If there are anything absolutely sure in your life, they are death and taxes. Says the famous English proverb. Tax crooked fellows can avoid, escape, but who can avoid or escape from the hands of death? Think about death, especially in the time of pandemic. Death is stalking around. If you are little careless, you could become the next victim. It doesn't matter who or where. The first thing we note about death is the inevitability factor, that it is unavoidable. You cannot hide from death. There is this famous story by Somerset Maugham. The story is called Appointment in Samara. The story goes like this. There was a merchant in Baghdad. He had a servant. One day the servant was standing in the market. Suddenly, death in the form of a veiled woman came in front of him and made a gesture as if she was asking, "Why are you here? What are you doing?" Immediately he understood that this is death itself coming for him. He ran away as fast as he can towards his home to see his master. And he explained everything to his master, what happened in the market. And death was there asking for my life. The master became angry and he immediately told him, "Take this horse as fast as you can, ride from here, escape the clutches of death. She cannot follow you. Go to Samara, as far as away to Samara." Then the master himself, when the servant left, the master himself went to the market. He wanted to ask, what is the reason she tried to scare his servant? When he found death, he asked, "Why did you scare my servant?" Death said, "I didn't scare him. I was only surprised to see him here. I asked him, 'Why are you here?' Because today I have an appointment with him in Samara." The story tells us how inevitable, how true, and how absolutely unescapable death is. So nobody can escape it. So if you have any plans like the crazy scientists and billionaires trying to do by freezing their body, so that one day there will be some kind of medical achievement by which they can come back to life, is not going to work. Anybody can die any moment. There is no way of escaping death. Accepting that fact, we must move on to the next um, idea or next factor. What dies? What happens at death? What is actually dying? When we die, when someone dies, it's only their body which dies. The soul never dies. If you are a believer in Jesus, your soul goes to the presence of Christ and waits there until he comes back. Only the body dies and decomposes. The death was never a part of God's original plan. Death is an intruder. Death looks like a person who came into this world where he should not be. He is not supposed to be. So The Bible clearly says death is the result or effect of sin. Before Adam and Eve um, committed their sin, death was not there. God didn't create death or hell so that one day they will die and go to hell. God explained them sin is the problem. If you do sin, if you break the commandment, if you eat from the fruit, death will come into this world. And that is exactly what happened. And that is the result of the fallen world. In a broken world, in a fallen world, as much as you try, you cannot escape your death. It is like a fish trying to escape from water. Its world is water, and at the moment it thinks that it can escape to another world, death immediately comes. Think about human beings as fish in the water. They live in this planet, breathing air from this atmosphere. Just try to escape from this planet without taking your own oxygen and try to open your mouth or try to breathe outside in the space. You will inevitably, you will undoubtedly get the fate of that fish. So what dies is the body. What lives on is the soul. And if you do not believe in Jesus, your soul will live on one day to appear before the judgment throne of Jesus and finally to get your torment in hell. So never fear death because only body dies. Those who believe in Jesus, their soul will be reunited with a resurrected body. Like Jesus was raised from dead, he got a new body. And that is a signal for us that we are also going to get a new body. Never worry about this decomposing body because God will give us a new body. Now, thirdly, let us think about the time of death. When one dies, it's a question about an age, your age. Some people falsely think that there is something like a good death or bad death. If you die young, you have a good death. If you die old, if you die young, you are very unfortunate. You didn't live enough, and you had a bad death. Or if you live old enough and had a good life and surrounded by your children and grandchildren, and you breathe your last, oh, that is a lucky death. That is nonsense. There is no such thing as timely death. Death can come any moment, and there is no difference in dying at what age. Some people die young, some people die old. Jesus died at the age of 33. So, is it an unlucky death or untimely death? No. There is no point of living one more second more than what God has appointed for us. Just forget the timing of death and live the life which God has given to you. So the timing or luck of death is is a bad concept, is wrong. Similarly, the place of death, where one dies. So everybody thinks that dying on his own bed at his own home, one's own home is the glorious death. Dying in a foreign country or dying in a public road or dying somewhere remote places or in the hospital or whatever is a bad thing. There is nothing like that. The place of death has no effect on your afterlife when Jesus comes. The time of the age of death or the place of death has no effect on your life after death. Jesus died on a cross. The place was very bad. He the most cursed death he received. So we should not be afraid of the place of death that, oh, I am going to die in this place. I'm going to be remembered as someone who had a bad death or something like that. Then the type of death. Here we have to be careful. How one dies, that again is not very important. Oh, somebody says, oh, he was killed. He was a good man, but he was killed either by somebody or in an accident, right? Is it a bad death? A plane crash. Is it a bad death? No, there is no such thing as the best death. You lie on your bed and you breathe your last peacefully without any sickness. No, that doesn't have any effect on your future afterlife. So, the method of your death. If you think about Jesus again, he died on a cross, the most cursed death of a criminal. And most of the disciples also died horrible deaths. It doesn't matter. It has no effect. The process of your death, the method of your death, how you died, has no effect on your afterlife. Here, you have to be careful about one thing. It is about suicide. You may think, oh, if there is no difference in the type of death, why can't I commit suicide? When I lived enough, I will commit suicide. No, suicide is a sin. Why it is a sin? Because you are, first of all, you are doing or you are taking something which is not yours. Did you create your life? Did you make your life? Did your parents make your life? No. Your body is a gift from your parents. So you don't have any right to destroy your body which was given from your parents as a gift. Your life is a gift from God. Did you create your life in a lab or something like that? No. So it is like stealing something. You are taking something which doesn't belong to you. In both ways, you cannot take your own life because your body or soul didn't um, come from your work or your merit. It was all gift. Even your parents had no impact on your birth other than just giving you a body. So suicide is sin. Above all, it is the breaking of the commandment which God gave. Which commandment is very important? Thou shalt not kill. It is one of the 10 commandments. Oh, it is about killing somebody or murdering somebody. Killing yourself is also a murder. So if you kill yourself, you are breaking God's commandment. So a Christian, a believer in Jesus Christ, has no right to take your own life. So that is why Christianity, even though Bible doesn't explicitly say about suicide, it is clear in the commandment that thou shalt not kill, means thou shalt not kill others and yourself. So suicide is absolutely a sin. Those who commit sin go straight to hell. Finally, let us think about the reason for death. What is the reason of our death? Why one dies? So, why people die? As we already thought, it is the result of sin. God didn't plan death for us. Death is an intruder. Revelations chapter 6 verse 8 says, and I looked, and behold, a pale horse, and his name that sat on him was Death, and hell followed with him. Look, his name. Death here is like a person, like a man sitting on a horse. So it is personified. Death in the Bible is like an intruder, a thief who came into this world where he shouldn't be. So death has no place originally, had no place originally in the world. It is because of our sin it got a way, a foothold on this world. And ultimately in Revelations 20:14 we can see then this person sitting on the pale horse was thrown into the lake of fire. Then death and Hades were thrown into the lake of fire. The lake of fire is the second death. So death of death is the second death. So ultimately when the new kingdom comes, when the heaven and earth is redeemed, There is no more death because this personified death is thrown into the hell. That is the point. That is the beauty of believing in Jesus. That death, the intruder, will be destroyed. So the reason we die is because of our sins. It is the after effect. If you raise temperature of a particular metal, it will get hot. Like that, if you do sin, the result is death. So, so we are all sinners because of Adam's sin. We are born with a sinful inclination, and the moment we gain our consciousness, we think about sin. The famous Malayalam writer O.V. Vijayan, his book The Legends of Kazakh has a story like this. In a small primary class, children were sitting, uh, and the teacher Ravi uh, was taking a class. Then the children all demanded, "Sir, sir, please tell us a story." Now the teacher asked, "What story you want to hear?" One girl said, "Sir, tell us a story where no one dies." What a beautiful request. They want to hear a story where no one dies. Is there a story like that? Anywhere, and that will be the most beautiful story. The failure of every religion, the failure of every system, the failure of godless systems and atheism is that they don't have a beautiful story where no one dies. They all explain the inevitable. Other religions say, see, there is no way out of death. You will die, then will be born again and again and again, die again, born again. Instead of one death, they will give you thousands of deaths and births. What's the point? They only explain the state. There is no solution. Atheism says after death there is an endless, inevitable void. Who will be comforted by such a story? Atheists welcome. Everybody welcome to atheism. After death, we will all be in the endless. We'll end up in the endless void of nothingness. What kind of a horrible story is that? Who wants to be comforted? So, are there any story like that? Even Buddha, one day when he was walking on the streets, a woman came running to him, asking him, "Please help me." He said, "What? My son died." And Buddha said, "Bring me some mustards." She thought Buddha is going to do some magic or medicine that my son will come back from death. When she began to run for bringing mustard, he told her, "There is one condition. You have to bring these mustard seeds from a house where no one has died." Still she went and asked every house whether there was anyone died so that she can have some mustard. She failed. There was no single house in the village where no one has ever died. She came back empty-handed, and Buddha explained to her, "See, death is inevitable. There is no point of worrying about those who are dead. Everybody has to die one day." What Buddha here is doing is giving a most depressed statement, stating the inevitable. Everybody knows that. Who can be comforted? Here is a woman crying for help to get back her son, and here the so-called Buddha, big God, is standing helpless. Just compare with what Jesus did. When he saw the widow of Nain, when she saw Martha and Mary crying, he didn't ask for any magic or gave a long philosophy story. He stood there and raised the dead. And that is the point. Only a true, real God who has power over death can um, give us life after death. And that is exactly what is going to happen. Look at the Bible. Uh, if you don't have New Testament, and if it is ended at Malachi, like the Jewish Bible, What a depressing book it is. Everything was good, and then everybody fell into sin, and end of story. Such a depressing story. The moment we jump into New Testament, we have such a beautiful hope. Here, four gospels repeatedly explains how Jesus was raised from the dead. All of them has something to say about resurrection. And you read the passage of resurrection, the only element you see is the element of surprise. Nobody has words to explain what just happened. Disciples has no idea. Soldiers has no idea. Uh, the authorities had no idea. Everybody is surprised. Why? Because this is so surprising. This never happened. This is a story which never ends. Every story ends. Every good story and bad story human beings ever told ends at the death of hero or heroine or villain or any other the characters. You can make the longest story ever and say that the prince and princesses lived happily ever after, but then what? They died. But this is the only story where we see that death is itself is conquered and everybody lives thereafter forever. How come such a story? This is the story which that little girl asked to tell. Tell us a story where no one dies. Do you want to hear that story? Open your Bible in the Gospels. Matthew, Mark, Luke, and John and the New Testament. It declares that there was a man, Son of God, who lived on the earth. We crucified him. People crucified him. He died for our sins. But on the third day, he was risen from the dead. And he walked on earth another 40 days and talked and walked and ate with his disciples. And he went to heaven and he lives there. And he will come for us. And he promises. Do you believe this story? Just believe. No need of any magic or medicine. Just believe this story. When you die, I will raise you from the dead. You will also receive a new body which will never die, like me, and you will be with me. Where is such a God? Where is such a story? Nowhere to see. This is the only story which with a happy ending. A happy, everlasting, ever, a never-ending story. Do you want this life? Believe in Jesus. There is no way you can defeat death by yourself. But Jesus can do that. Jesus can raise you from dead. And with that faith in Jesus, you can happily walk amid the pandemic. You can go anywhere. You can challenge death. And you can face death without any fear. When we are going to die, we can close our eyes with the hope that even though our eyes here are closed, one day Jesus will come and raise us from this soil where we will decompose and give us a new body. In the meantime, our souls will be with Jesus, enjoying his fellowship with other believers who went before us. This is the most beautiful story ever told. This is the most happy ending, the greatest happy ending story ever told. Believe in Jesus and live forever.